Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. Hey, it's great to see you on this Friday. I hope that you're doing well. Coming up, we have some active weather in our area with some persistent flooding rains. We'll highlight that. A lot of tropical moisture streaming in. And look ahead to next week and signs of potential tropical development in our western areas. As always, love to hear from you guys. Let me know what's been happening in your area. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. We're going to start the video out with more flooding rains from our cold front, which again, for this time of the year, is exceptionally far off towards the south. And this is bringing some persistent heavy rains to portions of South Florida, including the Keys, Cuba, and the central sides of the Bahamas right now, where we have very significant flooding ongoing through portions of Key West, Florida. This is what it looks like in the radar presentation. Because that boundary has stalled out and you have some mid and upper level energy spinning in the eastern Gulf, the rain is not moving right now through the portions of the lower Keys from Key West. It's a little bit dry towards Marathon, but you'll see at the bottom of your screen that there is flood warnings right now for portions of Key West. They've had 3 to 6+ inches of rain in some spots. Obviously an area that's barely above sea level. So a big problem right now back down to the Key West area. Heavier rain will continue to develop over portions of the western sides of Cuba. And then some of this activity is trying to get back towards the central sides of the Bahamas as well. Some of the areas that could be impacted here would be the southern sides of Andros, but especially back down to places like the Acklands, Long Island, Cat Island, maybe Rum Key and San Salvador, but it's more down into the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos for today. Mayaguana and Nagua, Matthewtown, back over the Caicos, and then spreading over towards Grand Turk. Pockets of heavy rain and flooding potential, good thunderstorm activity, a fair amount of lightning with this as well. So if you do live in these areas, make sure that you stay weather aware for the next 24 hours or so. The boundary will eventually dissipate, but it's going to take some time. These spots have seen some very local heavy rain on this Friday that could persist until portions of Saturday. If you're new to the channel, you're going to find 5-day forecasts across our area scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Sky conditions, daytime highs both in Fahrenheit and Celsius, no need to do any conversions. And my forecast, this is my personal forecast for you guys. You're only going to find it here at Meteo Mundo for the 5-day forecast and the chance for some rain. Now, one thing that I do expect to happen is rich tropical moisture continuing to stream in. So those areas, especially the central sides of the Caribbean that will shift off towards the west, that have been plagued by the Saharan air layer and not seeing a lot of rain, going to start to see some better rain chances. It's already beginning to develop on this Friday, but over the weekend and especially early next week, rain chances are going to go higher for some spots. We're seeing more rain back to the peninsula of Haiti for today towards Lacaille. Scattered showers and a rumble of thunder over Hispaniola in general. More on the northern side of the island, Santiago de los Caballeros, on up towards Puerto Plata. A little bit drier towards Santo Domingo and Punta Cana at the hour, but the moisture transport is developing. We're going to talk a lot more about the Central American gyre coming up, but there is a very broad low that is trying to get going a little bit more in the Central Caribbean. It's not going to be tropical in nature, but it is a tropical transport feature, and you can see that right there, kind of on the northeast side of the broader spin. So this could be a feature that could, in a localized fashion, bring more rain and storms to Jamaica coming up. So I do expect to see better rain chances for Kingston and Port Moore and Spanish Town on over towards Mandeville and Bay Pen, and then that will spread north and west. So improving rain chances across Jamaica coming up, might be until tomorrow or Sunday. Same situation with my friends in the Cayman Islands as well. But there's kind of this piece of energy outside of our broader spin, which is the big story as far as what could happen for our area tropically as we get towards next week. And I'm going to talk more about that coming up. Let's get out to our western zones right now. It's been a quiet day. It's been a beautiful day over portions of Puerto Rico, in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands as well. I'm going to bring on the wind gusts. Now, I do want to highlight that there's one area of Puerto Rico that has been wet today. We have had a little bit of flooding activity here just to the east of the Arecibo area and west of San Juan. So pockets of heavy rain, but in general, it's still been pretty dry. Winds today have been in the 20 to 25 mile an hour range. Going to try and transport in some moisture for Virgin Gorda, Roatan Tortola, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. San Juan, Ponce likely to be dry for today. Rain chances will be there across the Antilles over the weekend. Not exceptionally high in most spots. Or if we do get better rain chances like the British Virgin Islands and Anguilla, St. Bart, St. Martin, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Barbuda, when you see in the 5-day forecast, those areas have some decent rain chances the next 2 days or so. It's still the quick passing shower variety. We're not going to add up a lot. We're not going to put a lot in the old rain bucket because of the situation that's in play. The moisture is still quite shallow. Slightly better rain chances for Guadeloupe, Dominica, and Martinique. A couple of showers possible for our friends in Barbados for today, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. I will say this, the marine forecast for these areas is looking pretty darn sweet for the next couple days. If you're a boater or mariner fisherman, we're not having a bad swell forecast for the coming days. Still seeing some tropical transport of moisture over Trinidad. It was a cloudy, wetter part earlier in the day, beginning to thin out some of the cloud coverage. Tobago on the southern sides, a few isolated showers. You guys live in TNT, you've had a little bit of rain. Let me know in the comments section below. An area likely to get better rain chances is going to be Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao later into the forecast. Hey, if nothing else, we haven't had the 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts that we've had like the last week for these areas. And again, a transport of tropical moisture going to try and improve some of the rain chances there. Then you get back into the southern sides of Central America, and our Central American gyre is quite active, and that's going to be our next weather headline, guys, and how this is going to translate into the opportunity to see some potential tropical development in our western and northwest areas. So Central American gyre, we have 2 areas on the Pacific side that are likely to develop into tropical systems. We talked about this yesterday. As a matter of fact, we already have another invest area here, and that's 191E. So we've had tropical storm Amanda already, the first named storm, likely to have the B named storm coming up, and potentially the C named storm right behind it. But it's because obviously El Nino's very active in the Pacific waters, very high sea surface temperatures, less shear here in the East Pacific compared to the Caribbean, but the moisture content is becoming abundant. And now the big question becomes over the next week ahead, how much of that energy translates north into the northwest side of the Caribbean and into the western sides of the Gulf. So those are going to be the big stories coming up. As we get into that, real quickly, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button for me, I appreciate it. Thank you for liking the video as well. If you have a question, again, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. I'm going to switch over to the marine forecast. You're going to find over 25 forecasts. Your maximum wave heights, both in feet and meters, the wave direction in your area, and for the fishermen, your tides. Get your local tides across the area, so hopefully you're enjoying some of the content we have here at Meteo Mundo. So let's talk about what's going to be happening in the Caribbean and in the Gulf in the coming days. I'm going to switch over right now to our models, and we're going to take a look at the tropical models here coming up. I want to show you beginning, first of all, just the chance for some rain, because that's the first big story is regardless of any development potential, and in some models, that's absolutely nothing. In others, it's heightened a little bit. We do expect there to be a lot more moisture to develop in the central Caribbean and the western sides of the Caribbean and eventually to the Gulf. So this is going to spread what could be a fair amount of rain anywhere from the ABC Islands north and west. So at least some scattered showers for Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao coming up. This rain should translate north through portions of the Dominican Republic and Haiti and then spread west. So that's why I expect there to be improving rain chances for Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Additional scattered rain moving back into the Bay Islands of of Honduras and towards Belize, coastal Belize, like Belize City, Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum there, and Quintana Roo, and then potentially getting as far north and east as portions of the Bahamas. But this is going to be model dependent. This model I'm showing you, the rain is based off the GFS. While the GFS does not develop anything tropically in the Gulf compared to the European model, the moisture is farther east and northeast compared to the Euro, which is more back off to the north and to the west. So that's going to be the next story here. Let's go over the tropical models. The first thing I want to do before I show you the individual tropical models is to give you a breakdown of what the models are showing through next weekend. The European ensemble members are still the highest signal for potential development. The AI, or the artificial intelligence version of the European model, has a weaker signal. It's low, but it's not zero. The GFS AI, No signal whatsoever. In the Google DeepMind, also no signal. What I mean by no signal is if one or two of the 50 ensemble members show some development, that's virtually a 98% chance that there is no development. But let's dig into those models right now. You're looking at the European ensemble. It's still the one that has the highest signal for potential development. You can clearly see all the activity with the Central American gyre and the energy lifting north. So by next weekend, it does have some ensemble members showing some low-level centers. It's still relatively weak and sloppy, but it is the highest signal model-wise for potential development in the Gulf. And if we're going to get a system in mid-June, climatologically, this is exactly where we would expect to see it, especially in the Southwest Gulf, if the environment becomes a little less sheared. Right now, the Gulf still has a lot of shear with that cold front, so the wind shear is going to have to relax, if anything. But even still on the European model, on the ensembles here, it's a relatively weak and sloppy pattern regardless if this develops. Again, this could spread a lot of rain, but we can't completely discount that there would be a stronger low-level center underneath this. This is the GFS AI, okay? Clean run again. GFS sometimes can be the one that's too abundant with cyclogenesis, especially coming off of Central America and the Central American gyre, but it continues to show a clean run on the GFS AI. If I snapshot the AI version of the European model, it does have a signal, but again, it's a lot weaker than the ensemble members right now. And it's a little bit slower. The one thing you're going to see with the European model compared to yesterday is it's slightly slower and it's slightly farther south and west as an average, okay? But clearly, it's weaker and just beginning to develop off the north side of the Yucatan by Sunday afternoon. So the AI version of the European model, even though it's showing a few members with some development, quite slow. If we look at the Euro ensemble chance for tropical depression development through Sunday of next week, yesterday compared to today. Yesterday, we had about that 20, 30, maybe 40% chance, but mainly in the central and the eastern Gulf. Today, it's a little bit of a stronger signal, but it's also much farther south and west. We still have to get the main core of energy to come offshore. If it stays inland over Mexico, you're not going to get any you're not going to get true development. You might get a lot of tropical moisture coming back up to the western Gulf, but clearly there's been a decent shift in the ensemble members as a whole as to where that development might be in the Gulf. And it's not surprising because the models still don't have a lot to grab onto. And we haven't seen a lot of change model-wise overall, meaning the models that were showing things, I'm going to bring this back on. The models that were showing things yesterday, like the European ensemble, still have the highest signal. The others still mainly don't. And the GFS hasn't flipped yet, and the Google DeepMind hasn't flipped to show potential development. I think we still have a couple of days to see how this shakes out, especially in this early season. Sometimes the models really have a tough situation delineating, the energy inland or in the Pacific coming into the Caribbean. Now, regardless of any development, which again, in my mind right now would be rather weak, even if it does try and get going in the Gulf, it's more about, in the shorter term, the rain. Okay, so if we look at the rain for basically the next week ahead, next 6 days, 6 to 7 days, look at all of the red in areas that have been relatively dry. It would be great to get a few inches of rain, at least near the ABC Islands. I hope it's over the islands. Of course, it's always area dependent. Jamaica has a lot more rain in the forecast than what we've seen. Again, a few inches of rain, absolutely possible. Cayman Islands, Cuba's been wet, and more areas could get wet there. You see the heavier rain potential across the Caribbean coastline of Quintana Roo, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Still limited rain chances in our eastern and northeast areas. And this is the rain actually in the short term, southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, that could bring a few inches of rain to some of those areas. Let's take a look at what it looks like on the GFS model. Rainfall total wise, and quite honestly, it's pretty much in lockstep with what we see on the European model. The transport of moisture coming in from the north. It's just about whether this becomes enough energy to fire up a low-level center down the road. It's going to be something just to have to monitor. But if I show you guys just over the next 5 days the potential for some rain near Jamaica, now you're starting to talk about true tropical moisture coming in with 4-6 inches of rain, 100 to 150 millimeters potentially in some spots. Does it make the islands north? Does it stay in the open waters of the Caribbean? We'll watch that, but clearly a few more inches of rain here in portions of Hispaniola, and there's your 2 to 3 plus inches of rain for southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, the heavier rain here. And again, at least through, next Wednesday or so, nothing really here yet. It's still all about the Pacific side and the buckets of rain likely to fall near the Pacific coastline of Central America. While I'm not expecting a lot of rain out east, it doesn't mean we're not going to get anything. As an example, especially down towards Trinidad, we could see some rain on a local basis that could add up to a few inches. Looking at my mariners in your wave forecast, I'll bring the marine forecast back on as well. Obviously, if this gets a little bit more prominent in the Western Caribbean, mid next week, we're going to see elevated sea conditions. It's not going to surprise me. The large wave strong wind advisory returns to Jamaica. Could have some small craft advisories near the Bay Islands and Belize, and then potentially up portions of the United States Gulf Coast as well. So I'll be monitoring that situation. The easterlies will continue to be quite strong across the area for the week ahead as well. So let's break it down for you guys one more time. The heavy rain continues with flooding conditions for the Florida Keys, portions of southeast side of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. We're beginning to see that tropical moisture content really begin to fill in, and it's all about our Central American gyre, this spin, which is always persistent this time of the year, but with El Nino and a couple of other factors, the potential that some of that energy gets into the Western Caribbean and eventually into the Gulf by this time next week, with a low-end chance for potentially a weak and sloppy, wet disturbance developing tropically in the Gulf by then. I'll be monitoring the situation for you guys. Again, you got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. If you've been looking for Caribbean weather and tropical weather in general, you found your home. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button. Friends, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'm back soon with the latest forecast. Until then, take care.